This tweet from Rolling Stone. They say that's the genius work of this one small bit of the Harris Waltz merch. The camouflage hat reclaims the rural and Southern identity that mainstream Democrats have long ignored. Wow. Dems are finally embracing country music fans. That's all they needed this whole time.
One hat.
Was the camouflage hat. And, just the other day, we're out here in Appalachia. I saw an old man wearing a camouflage Harris Waltz hat. And I said, sir, you're supporting Harris Waltz. And he goes, well, I just got to tell you, once I saw that hat, I knew it was for me. I don't see Trump wearing a camo hat. And I'm like, that's it. They've won. They've won the South over. Just kidding. That's insane. These people are morons.
Is it jungle camo?
I don't know.
No, it
was all black.
Yeah, jungle. It's
Space
basic
camo.
old school camo.
Oh.
Space camo's the same thing because it's not like just all black,
They need invisible
Like
for
gray.
space camo, I guess.
So you get where's Emma? Is her name Emma Emhoff? Is that her name?
Ella Emhoff.
Ella Emhoff. Where's she from? Like New York?
She lives in Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn, yeah. And they put a camo hat on her, and that's it. You've convinced Southern conservatives
to
vote Democrat.
She looks like she's, headed to Williamsburg for a nice Coke bench and a bunch of electro clash or something.
But even with the camo hat, she still looks like she's headed to Williamsburg.
Oh, yeah, with the camo hat. I'm saying with camo hat, she looks like she's headed for Williamsburg. If she takes the camo hat off, she could pass in Park Slope, but...
Democrats don't understand that they're just doing what hipsters do.
Yes.
They're not actually endearing themselves.
They're appropriating bits of Americana.
Cultural modification.
That's exactly what it is. They're appropriating bits of Americana and saying that makes them American. I mean, you see how excited they get when they're like, look, I'm American too. Look, I have the accessories. I have the bangles.
They're chanting USA at the convention, waving American flags, and outside they're burning American flags.
They're burning them, yeah. Yeah, we have a reporter out there. I think you guys had a reporter out there too.
I think Elad's there.
Yeah, and it's madness what's going on outside. And if you were at the RNC, like there weren't mad protests in the street.
Nope.
It was like
there was a protest.
There were like a couple. There was like a little bit, but there was nothing like this. Nothing like screaming that Joe Biden is going to have plenty of time on his hands, screaming about Kamala Harris, screaming about foreign wars. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous too, the thing that they're most upset about, because you have a lot of conservatives who are upset about Israel, and they basically are like, we don't want to fund foreign wars. We don't think America has any place in this war. Okay, that makes some sense. You have Democrats out there screaming about this war, saying we want to fund the terrorists more. It's like, what's going on? That's just insane.
It says
no, go ahead.
It says a lot about them. They're very shallow, very materialistic. They'll wear a pussy hat, pardon the language, but they wear hats like that, and they wear this, and just the virtual signaling, they think that's going to get them across, because for them, a little tiny bit like that means a lot.
And they're also like screaming about, abortion rights is rights for Gaza, and it's like abortion is very illegal in Gaza.
I'm sorry, but this is a Simpsons joke. This is literally a Simpsons joke. When Kang and Kodos took over Bob Dole,
twirling towards freedom. I keep thinking of it.
Bob Dole and Bill Clinton got taken over by aliens. Their bodies were taken over by aliens. And I can't remember, I think it was like alien Bill Clinton or whatever was like, no abortions for any, or no, like abortions for all. And they go, boo. And he goes, abortions for everyone, boo. And then he goes, abortions for some, tiny American flags for everyone else. And they go, yay. And they cheer. This is what Democrats think. They're like, just put a camo hat on, and now the Southern pro-lifers are going to vote for you.
It normally goes, in my mind, the camo hat hand in glove with 2A rights. So I think it's very weird to try to take one from the rest. And certainly, if you're looking at the Democrats, this is the gun grab mandatory. I mean, Kamala has been very clear. Kamala, rather. Been very clear about mandatory gun buybacks.
I mean, this is
He's tried to walk
this
it
is
back,
no
but
different than blackface, if you ask me.
Oh, that's
I am
a
offended.
good point.
As a West Virginia living here now,
That's right. Everyone agrees that this is they're actually, I'm kidding, but what's funny is they're going to Chicago and getting urban liberals like Brooklynite Ella to wear this camo hat to like make it seem like they're Southern conservative or something.
Are they going to buy back the guns in Chicago?
Instead of actually getting, I don't know, some Southern conservatives?
Also, the other thing with gun buybacks is you buy back somebody's gun, like gang. This was happening, I think, in New York, if I recall. Gang members were turning in their guns, getting money, and then going to buy better guns.
Well, there was one funny story where they did like a gun buyback. So a guy 3D printed a bunch of guns and then sold them to the government.
Yeah, I remember
He
that.
made like a lot of money. He made a couple grand, like $5,000.
Yeah, is that what it was?
Yeah.
He was 3D printing them, and they were like, well, all right, a gun's a gun. And he's like, man, I can make these things for like $3. And there you go. I don't know if the Democrats have any actual strategy. I mean, we know they have no campaign positions, and now Rolling Stone is just being like, well, they're wearing camouflage hats. Are they planning to lose? Is this it? Like, is Trump really just going to win?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on if all the vibe people vibe their way right over to the ballot box and actually vote. I mean, that's really going to be the most telling moment. How compelled are these people going to feel?
You know, I do have that emotional reaction in me, just wanting the economy to collapse so I can rub their faces in it. But, you know, unlike Bill Maher, I won't call for a recession to win an election.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is, to be fair. I don't want to cut. I mean, nobody wants to believe more than Trump's going to win than I do. But, you know, the reality is that the last 7 weeks have been a marked change, really. You know, we came out from, obviously, almost 5 weeks ago, the president being shot, to, you know, the trend lines crossing right now. And certainly, in the, you know, she leads in the popular vote tallies on Real Clear Politics. So, you know, you have to step back and say, how did we get here in the first place? Like, why is Kamala even the candidate? And there have been some serious miscues with the Trump campaign. So, like,
He seems to be improving, though.
It's improved in the last week, I think. But, you know, we have to be real that there was no plan in place here to meet up with her. And there has been a lot of ground lost.
What do you think are the miscues? Some of the miscues, anyway.
I think the fundamental one is kind of overplaying the Biden and pushing him off the stage.
Yeah, it's like Trump beat
they've
Biden
taken
too fast.
they took the Democrat bait. The campaign did, and you know, like anytime, anywhere, you know, throw down a debate. It's like, no, actually, you debate after he's locked in as the candidate. And the campaign was arrogant. You know, you look at this, you know, there's an article in The Atlantic, right? The campaign apparently did 6 months letting The Atlantic behind backstage. Now, The Atlantic is owned by Steve Jobs' widow, right? She gives like $100 million to the Democrats. So it's very odd when you're working with the left to, you know, write stories about you and kind of let your hair down with The Atlantic. But if you go back and read that article, Tim Alberta on July 10th, the campaign's basically saying, no, we're very confident Joe is going to be sticking in this. In fact, there's $250 million that's impossible for them to shift. Well, Democrats figure out how to shift that in an afternoon.
Right.
So that was just a gross miscalculation.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Like, it was really a mistake to go through with that debate.
Well, you know, people advised to do it, and you know, people didn't put brakes on it. And if you don't have a plan in place, then it's a major mistake. But then you kind of move on to, like, how did we dissipate all this goodwill about the, you know, essentially the concern about the assassination? How did that get moved off the front page?
Well, that got moved off the front page because as soon as Trump got almost assassinated, they kicked Biden off the ticket and inserted Kamala. So the Democrats just grabbed the news cycle. As soon as that happened, they grabbed the news cycle, almost as though they had been planning to grab it all along in that moment. You know what I mean?
One mistake triggers the next,
right.
basically.
But I mean, Trump also, and his campaign, like, they launched their campaign so early that it felt like the right time to have a debate in June. All of the other candidates were off the table. You know, everybody had been cleared out. The Democrats refused to allow anybody to challenge Biden, even though there were good reasons to. You know, they locked out basically Dean Phillips and RFK Jr. So it's like the whole thing got so accelerated that it was easy, I think, to forget about the actual electoral timeline, which, you know, you could say was
sometimes I think you just have
regrettable.
to be silent and stand back and let your opponent collapse. And that's what Joe Biden was doing. If you remember, there was a period there, well, it happened post-debate, but like there was kind of a countdown to see whether he would even be be the candidate. And, instead of just letting that happen, they stepped in with other news. I mean,
Right.
one, they took a shot at Project 2025. That kind of gets the base going because that, again, they're taking the kind of the trap that the left has set for them. With Project 2025, 90% of that's misinformation from the left. The stuff they say is in Project 2025 is not in Project 2025. But to kind of denigrate that and knock it kind of shows, a political misjudgment.
Well, they certainly count on people not reviewing it and not looking at it for themselves. And also the way that the left presents their information, like, they're involved with the Center for American Progress. And we were talking about it before the show. The Center for American Progress didn't publish 900 pages of policy. They have a website that's really hard to navigate in terms of like if you're trying to, it's easy to navigate, but it's if you're trying to find actual information, it's very difficult to find it.
Yeah, we call that Project Special K.
Yeah, it's very effective.
They're going to ban Zinn.
I love that cereal.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Tim Walton, Minnesota's got a 95% tax on Zinn.
Oh yeah, is that right?
Yep. It's on all nicotine products. So Zinn is taxed at 95%.
Well, there's tobacco. Cigarettes are really expensive in so many parts of the country, like Chicago. I was reading an article about that. And in New York, of course, they're very expensive. San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, to get back to what you're saying about the Center for American Progress, why is Project 2025 different? Why are we operating in the light and they're operating in the darkness? I mean, you have to kind of step back and say, how do we even get to a place where men are using women's bathrooms and playing in sports?
I can tell you exactly how we got there because I watched it happen.
Over 50 years, but is basically allowing a permanent government class to operate in Washington and not bring the rest of the country into this government. So shows like this tell people what's actually going on, but we're not going to change it until people listening to this show come and work in Washington. So that was really the whole promise of Project 2025, is to recruit an entire cadre of people to come and make change in Washington who aren't part of this permanent government class. And you can't do a big recruiting effort without talking about it. Now, the ideas, why, to be fair, like, Heritage Foundation's put out a book for the last 50 years almost. Like, this is not anything new. What is new, to Ian's point, is that it's actually organized at this point. This is 110 groups coming together and simpatico rowing in the same direction, thousands of volunteers. And it's threatening. What's in that book, what these folks have been learning about is really the deconstruction of the administrative state. This is the antidote to really the deep state, and really that is the threat of the whole thing. So, in a point is that a lot of these ideas should be embraced. Not everything in there. This is a kind of a wish list, but it was a coming together of conservatives way in advance of the presidential election in 2022, for that matter, and certainly it allowed various candidates to figure out, if they wanted to go the conservative route, this is where you should be. And that was the promise of the book. But the book also serves, as the whole project does, to teach people about the government. Our side's never systematically focused on how we can take control of the administrative state. And unless people learn and commit to coming to serve, nothing's going to change.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.